Perfect. So let's start. Welcome everyone to today's second edition of the State of Media Development regional webinars that we're conducting. 2 weeks ago, we had Eastern Europe, Central Asia. Today, we're going to be talking about the Asia Pacific region. And what we plan to do is give you some insights presented by our regional researcher, Umesh Pokarel, who has also served as South Asia coordinator for the International Federation of Journalists. And he's been in media development for quite a while and has some interesting things to share with us. And Umesh will be reporting from sort of the results of those key informed interviews and also some survey results that we have. Last point, before I tell you a bit more about the State of Media Development report, we'd like to invite you to take part in a survey. This is on behalf of GFMD. GFMD are busy preparing a toolkit for donors just to inform them about media development and how they can adhere to the OECD principles. And so I'd like to invite you to take part in the survey. I think Sanya is posting the link in the chat. And just leave your feedback. I think we only have 3 questions, so it's not a lot, but it's very valuable for GFMD so that they can do that work, obviously representing us all. Okay, so now I'm going to launch into my presentation on the State of Media Development report, just to tell you what the rationale was behind this report. So as all of you know, the OECD Media Principles were published in 2024. And these principles are basically standards for the entire media development sector. And so our idea was to take the State of Media Development report to monitor how is the sector doing vis-a-vis these principles. The focus, you can see the principles here. I don't think I need to remind you of all of the 6 principles. But the focus here was on the perspective of media development organizations. So obviously there's a donor survey, there's the UNESCO World Trends Report, which focuses on media outlets. But our specific focus was media development organizations and how they are faring, and also their perspective, obviously, on donors and media, etc. You can find the report at this link here. You'll find all the material from the DW think tank, DW Academy think tank, DW Freedom there. But I think Sanya is also posting the specific link to the entire global report in the chat right now. Okay, and just to tell you, so what specifically did we do? We did prioritization workshops with experts from the media development sector. You can see some of them here on the right. Based on that, we drew up a survey and guides for key informant interviews, and then we conducted the survey with 77 organizations worldwide and 76 individuals from those organizations, and also some extra experts. Yeah, so that's it. Basically, from my side, setting the stage. If you want to take a screenshot, this might be a good point in time, because these are the most important recommendations that came out of the global survey. So I'm not going to go into them, all of them right now, but I think some of them will definitely be popping up when Umesh gives us his insights, specifically focusing on the region of Asia Pacific. Okay, I'll unshare and then I'll hand it over to you, Umesh.
Thank you, Dennis, for this opportunity. Thank you, DW Academy, for this great opportunity. And I would like to acknowledge some of the respondents here. Actually, this project may not have been possible without your support. So I sincerely thank all the media development organizations who provided their insights and their expertise to this program. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk about. I would like to share some of my findings here. Okay, let me start. Our agenda, okay. So our topic of the report is the state of media development in Asia Pacific region. Sorry, I'm having some issue here. Okay, our agenda is today. Agenda for our discussion is I will be presenting the finding from Institute of Media Development in the Asia region. It is also based on finding of global research on State of Media Development 2025. This presentation first talks about overall status, about OECD principles, that we have 6 principles that Dennis already shared. And then I will go to discuss about what the present status of this and what are the challenges and what are the recommendations on this. I would like to highlight snapshot of the finding about the 6 OECD principles across Asia. As Dennis shared, that principle first talks about do no harm to public interest media, and this indicator is minimally fulfilled. Principle 2 is about increased financial and other assistance. This indicator, this principle has been not fulfilled at all. It means this has received a lowered kind of rating from all the respondents that we had taken under consideration for the study. And principle 3 talks about take a whole of system perspective. This is partially fulfilled. This principle has been partially fulfilled. You can see detail of this in our report. Principle 4 talks about local leadership and its ownership, and we have examined how much local media development organizations has developed the leadership and they have increased ownership or not. So in this category, this is partially fulfilled. Similarly, in principle 5, we have improved coordination, and this is also partially fulfilled. And in principle 6, we have principle 6 says that we need to invest in international donor, need to invest in knowledge, resource, and learning. And this is minimally fulfilled, not even a partially fulfilled. This is a key snapshot from our finding. Let me go to principle first in detail. The principle first talks about do no harm to public interest media. Under this principle, we have examined whether the partnership with the international funder, international organizations has brought some sort of risk to the local development organization or local media or not. So under that category, we have found some interesting finding. First finding is there's a risk related to the government monitoring. For example, collaboration with foreign donor lead to acquisition of linkage with of the national secret. I would like to highlight a quote. One officer from Ministry of Defense accused us of attempting to provide state secret to US and sell them. This is what Mongolian respondent said. Similarly, there is another example from Kazakhstan. The Kazakhstan government has intentionally targeted the media development organization just for their connection with the international funder. So it shows that although funding does not bring the harm automatically, but it has indirect side effect. So these are some of the side effects that the international funding brings in. So I'm going to talk more about the risk about the government security. Another example is in India, there is the FCRA law. FCRA law indirectly restrict for the foreign funding to the media development organizations. And I would like to highlight an example from Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, the exile media or the association with the international donor or international actor lead to the cancellation of their license of the media development organization. This has been kind of reported by the Afghanistan respondent. Okay. Also, this apart, there is a risk, of a branding or logo or co-branding event with the international funder. That is also reported by most of the media development, organizations in the region, in Asia Pacific region. Now, I would like to share what risk mitigation strategy were practiced or adopted in order to address that. So I have few, I'm going to share a few among them. One is donor and partner stay together and they jointly do risk planning and they do jointly risk mitigation. They do develop risk metrics and they jointly work on mitigating risk. Second is this is proven effective in fragile context. Second is donor safety, donor support has increased to safety. Third is donor prioritizing and digital security, and fourth is sometimes donor have agreed to maintain low visibility. This has some of the kind of effort that measures have that has been taken in order to address that situation. I have another example from a Mongolia. Uh, it says that in order to be be out of the attack, you can practice ethical sort of funding. That is the example from Mongolia. Then I'm going to talk about the recommendation. Recommendation is integrate do no harm clause in all the project framework, that is by all the media development organization. Then second is co-develop country specific risk assessment and mitigation plan and implement that as well, because at present, we have not seen that much implemented. Third is flexible branding protocol by the donor organization. That should be done. And fourth is standardized low visibility support in fragile and authoritarian contexts. That is the most important thing that the donors should think about. Fifth is promote ethical and accountable funding practice. And sixth is screen out politicized and harmful funding sources. These are some of the recommendations that is related to do no harm principles. Now I'm going to talk about principle 2, which is not fulfilled at all. The principle 2 talks about increased financial and other sort of assistance to media development organizations and media organizations. And I'm going to talk about the overall scenario. Media organization face systematic underinvestment and decline of core or flexible funding. That is what we found. Second, we found is most rely on short-term and project-based grant. Third is only few, like Asia Media Information and Communication Center, generate substantial internal revenue. Other are kind of dependent on donor or any other external funding. Therefore, they have less chances of sustainability, while AMIC has a higher chances of sustainability, higher level of sustainability. And there is a donor withdrawal is also there. Meta, OSF, Google, and other donor and regional, global and regional donor have withdrawn their from their work. That is the key the overall situation. And I'm going to talk about the challenges. What are the challenges of in media development in terms of funding? There are many challenges I'm going to talk about. Lack of core or institutional support, first. Second is rigid, burdensome project grant. Some project grants are so rigid and then they are not flexible and they can't be, more utilized. They can't be used as the organization, media development organization can use it. And marginalization of media as a sector and crisis context underfunded. It means that Afghanistan, Myanmar, and other crisis-affected countries have not been funded adequately. They are still underfunded. These are some challenges, and there is also disconnect between donor and ground reality. Uh, as I mentioned, one of the good example of how the local organization can make a good funding on their own is the EMIC. It has been able to generate its funding from its own membership fee, conference participation, and capacity building programs. And it's around 80 to 85% of its revenue comes from independently, and they should not rely on international funder. That is what the practice is there. And I'm going to talk about the recommendations. Key recommendations are treat public interest media as a public good. This is very important recommendation because only if we treat public interest media as a public good, then the interest will be increased for media to invest. Second is shift to core and flexible funding. That is important. And third is protect exile and at-risk media, for example, Myanmar and Afghanistan media. Burgeon geographic and communities, simplify and harmonize donor processes, diversified funding model. These are some of the recommendations. And I'm going to talk about principle 3. Principle 3 talks about take a whole of system perspective. It is also partially fulfilled. And I'm going to talk about briefly about this. This is about the idea of this principle is that media development sector should be looked on a kind of holistically, not as a individual or in a separate way. For example, therefore it argues that all the actors in media ecosystem, for example, media producer, and then the media consumer, and all the media stakeholders should be supported. This is what the idea of this. And we have a question that whether the international funder have done a sort of analysis of this whole system perspective or not. That was the question, and based on that question, we have some finding. First finding is the donors has a superficial finding, a superficial diagnosis on the media ecosystem. Second is urban-centric approach. It means that even if the donor do a sort of research on that, they have a limited. They are kind of in urban. They do research in urban-centric, and sometimes they are focused only with the people who can speak English, because the researchers are mainly from the global north or from the English-speaking country, and they try to find people from the who knows the English, and this also affect the kind of creates a barrier for knowledge. And third is exclusion of hyper-local and digital first media. And fourth is trend-driven funding. The funding trend is kind of trend-driven, not by the resource-driven. That is what I have found from this research. So this should also be addressed. And there's recommendation. Context is sensitive assessment. That is very important. Second is engage a broad range of media actor. Third is fund local expertise, because at present local expertise are kind of minimized, and global north expertise are kind of highlight in the media development sector. This should be stopped. And fourth is support hyper local and digital first media. This is very important thing, particularly at the time when we have been going through we have been receiving information from the social media. This is very important recommendation. Invest in long-term sustainability, integrate digital right and resilience, provide flexible and multi-year funding. That is also very important thing. Yeah, these are the recommendations for
principle 3. Yeah. Okay, Umesh, thanks so much. We said that we'd be doing like 2 blocks, first principle 1 to 3, and then principle 4 to 6. Then I suggest that we first give the word to Ms. Kashku Naranjagal from the Globe's International Center in Mongolia, because obviously she was also part of the interviewees for this study, and I think she wants to share some insights from her experiences in Mongolia. So perhaps you could unmute yourself and give us your insights.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to meet you. So thank you. Thank you very much for this very important report, because it was very interesting to read, and it's very timely. The report came for, it's very timely, especially for Mongolia, when we talk about economic development and so on, because without the public interest media as a public good, there wouldn't be any proper and the fruitful talks about economic development. And you know that there are a lot of very interesting points, principles. And first of all, I just would like to remember that the OECD also, you know, that several years ago, as I remember, it was 2016, they also analyzed the situation of anti-corruption legislation and situation in Mongolia. So, you know that they also produced some recommendations for Mongolia, for example, establish independent supervisory mechanism for enforcement of the access to information right. And also you know that there was a recommendation on discussing the ownership, media, and decriminalize all the defamation and insult offenses, criminal defamation, insult offenses. But unfortunately, you know that this decriminalized the provisions in the criminal law was back to the criminal law. But title is now that it's a kind of the false information. If honor and reputation and of the persons are affected, of course, it's a criminal. And unfortunately, you know that we also have cases of imprisonment and also detentions of journalists in Mongolia, which is a very bad news because Mongolia is always considered to be a successful democracy in our region. And that's why a lot of the human rights NGOs, especially supporting media freedom and freedom of expression and information, they left the country. So we have a very few international media organizations working in Mongolia. And you know that we also, my organization is a member of the IFEX, and the IFEX was a very good, they provide a very good support, they include the operational costs and to carry out our permanent activities. But unfortunately, you know that they also stopped it because of the lack of the funding. So that's why currently the Mongolian NGOs, especially they working in the media development, suffering from lack of the finance. And also, you know, that IREX was a very active in Mongolia as a part of the Asia Foundation's the work, the big project funded by USAID. But since you know that we don't have this the funding from the USAID, you know that the project was entirely stopped. And what's due to it, for example, we can't really now, they provide the free legal consultancies to the journalists who had some problems. Actually, the safety of journalists in Mongolia is also a problem because it's not comparable to other countries in South Asia and other regions, but still, you know that the safety of journalists is getting more risky in Mongolia. And you know that one of the imprisoned journalists, they faced this the criminal case because you know that because of disclosure of the state, the secrecy, and among other accusations against her. But unfortunately, you know that we have a very strict the law on state and official secrecy now, because we think that, you know, that it's a violation of our constitution. We have been talking a lot about it when the Mongolian government is saying that very keen to fight the corruption and the transparency, government transparency, and so on. Because you know that according to our constitution, the list of secret information there must be actually shall be adopted by the law. But according to the new law, you know that government of Mongolia is actually adopting the list of the secret information, and now it's very strict. We have a lot of the number of secret information is has increased much more than compared to even 2005 when we started working on the reform of the state secrecy law.
Okay.
Yeah. This, yeah. I'll stop it because I have a lot of things to tell about the secrecy law and so on. And you know that I'm really agree with the really agree with the recommendations what to do, the conclusions and of this report, because you know that now for example, you know that only chance for us now is EU funding, actually. But you know that, of course, Deutsche Welle Academy has been supporting us a lot for many years on access to information, and also now they also have the project with the Media Council of Mongolia. But still, you know that we need. But Mongolia is now, you know that they have the draft law on amendment to the media freedom law, which was adopted back to 1998. But you know that the law was actually submitted to the parliament, and the parliament actually, the standing committee has taken a decision to discuss it. But unfortunately, you know that probably some of you heard that Mongolian government was resigned. Now we have a new government, and the new government has not actually made any statements or released any information what to do with this law. So you know that only the valuable the donor is the UNESCO in Mongolia, because also the UNESCO IPDC. Actually, I'm a member of the Intergovernmental Council. And
okay, Ms. Naranjago, I think we need to cut it short here because
yes.
Yeah, thanks so much for those insights from your country. In Germany, we have this saying: either the glass is half full or half empty. And I think what you've been saying has confirmed the view or the results that Umesh was presenting, that indeed currently the glass is definitely half empty in terms of there's a lot of funding that's gone lost, and obviously we're hoping to regain that. So thanks so much for those insights. But we do
I'm so sorry. Can I say just one?
Yes, okay, sure. One more thing, and then we need to open it up to everyone, and then Umesh needs
you know
to.
that Mongolia is holding the economy forum every year. So I would like wish the OECD or the Deutsche Welle Academy will help us to translate this report, because this report is very important into Mongolian, and to introduce it to our media community and the public, the policy makers, because you know that this economy forum, at the very beginning, they had one session on civil society, and civil society, there was only the the information about the free press indexes and so on. I told about these indexes because it's going down now. But
So
it will be very good if we include, if you come to the next the economy forum and I have the special session on media development. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we're happy to collaborate. Perhaps you can contact us on that at a separate occasion. Yes. Okay, so we don't have any questions in the chat. So my suggestion would be that we continue with Umesh, and if you have any questions, do pose them during the next Q&A after Umesh tells us how media development in Asia Pacific stands on principles 4 to 6. So back to you, Umesh.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm going to talk about Principle 4. Principle 4 talks about strengthening local leadership and ownership. And this is also partially fulfilled. That is, this indicator is also partially fulfilled. I'm waiting my computer to respond, and I'm having some issue. Still, I can talk on this. Regarding the local ownership and in this, under this principle, we have studied with the international funding, whether the international funder has kind of encouraged local leadership or ownership or not. That was the main question, and based on that question, we have a few findings. First is that there is many organizations in the global south.
Just a quick reminder, we can't see the right slide at the moment, but you're changing it right now. That's perfect.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to it. I think I have some internet issue or something like that. Okay, principle 3 and principle 4. I'm going to principle 4 now.
Yes, we can see it now. Perfect.
Yeah, okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and general overview. I'm going to present a general overview. Local ownership remains limited and real power stays with the international actor. That is what our research found. It means that international funder has a bigger say and they have a big hand, and local media development organizations has a limited say, and they have their role and their ownership is limited. That is what we found. Local group in Nepal, Myanmar, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, for example, are just a co-applicant, not lead applicant. It means that in a global call from the global donors, it is found that most of the organizations from this region, Asia Pacific region, are applying as a co-applicant to a big call. They have not lead the project. Some of them have, but the majority of them have not lead the project. It means that we should work to ensure that local leadership and ownership has been increased. And third is complex funding rules exclude smaller and capable organizations. Fourth is donor processes prioritize global north expertise, and then it kind of undermine the expertise from the global south or the people or the media development actor in Asia Pacific region. Then another finding is short-term inflexible funding undermine the long-term planning. Local actors often adjust to donor agenda. It means that, although we say that donors, and this is a collaborative work between the donor and partner, or the implementing partners and the funder, but in reality, funder has a higher say, and the local organization, media development organization need to adjust their idea, their priority with the donor agenda. This should compromise to some extent. This is what we found. And then I would like to go to key challenges. Key challenges are a lack of core flexible funding to the local media development organization. This weakens planning and capacity of the local media development organization. And there is complex donor procedure, block locally. It means that donor has lots of formality to fill out, and they have lots of financial and project programmatic reporting requirement. This has kind of created some of the respondents said that this has created them not to apply, not to go for that particular project. This is what our research found out. And third is token participation limit decision making power. Fourth is foreign lead training and strategy undermined local expertise. Local expertise have been undermined by the foreign experts. And then social exclusion of women, rural people with disability is a major issue that has not been highlighted. And neglect of exile-based journalism that I already had mentioned in earlier principle as well. That is also a very stronger issue. That is one of the pressing issue. That is all about the the challenges of Principle 4. Then let's go to this is all about success case of challenge, success of the Principle 4. Principle 4, I have taken one success in Principle 4, that is Afghanistan journalists who have been exiled have been successfully running the AMU television. So this is one of the example how local leadership can do effectively even if they don't get foreign funding or even with the foreign funding. So this is one of the success example. Now I'm going to talk about recommendation. First recommendation is reform donor eligibility and application processes. That is really very hard for, and some of the eligibility requirement is not met by the local media development organization. Second is simplify ODA procedure, language, audit documentation. Third is allow local organization to apply as a lead applicant, because this has not been a practice. I think we need to be, I think we need to formulate a policy where local organizations should be a lead applicant. This is how we can make some changes on this scenario. Then promote shared leadership and equitable partnership, institutionalize co-design and joint decision making. Then prioritize local expertise over external consultant. And also we should promote South-South cooperation in context of specific learning, training, this sort of thing. And most important thing is recognize and institutionalize exile-based media leadership. This is one important thing we need to always keep in mind. Offer sustained contextual support for diaspora-led journalism, and ensure gender sensitivity in all the work that we do in terms of, and it is equally important while we talk about improving leadership ability of the local expert. So this is also very important thing. Now I would like to go to Principle 5. Principle 5 talks about improved coordination between donor, partner, and all the stakeholders. This is what the Principle 5 talks about. And our research found that this principle is partially fulfilled. And the major question for this research were whether there was a coordination, collaboration between different donor and partner or not, first thing. And second is whether there is a coordination and collaboration between in-country organization or not, what is the situation, what are the challenges, and what are the opportunities and recommendations. This is something that we are focused on in Principle 5. And our overall finding is there is a fragmented and crisis-driven coordination. Yes, there is a coordination among different organizations and even international donors, but that is crisis-driven. If there is a crisis, then there is a coordination between different organizations to tackle with that situation. And when the country is out of crisis and when it is a bit stable situation, then that sort of coordination and collaboration between different media development organization and the donor and partner is low. So this is one of the situation. Second is emergency response rarely sustained. For example, yes, there is a good practice that the international support, they receive international support when there is a crisis. For example, Myanmar journalists relocated with the support of international media community, international development community, and international media development community. But after they are rescued, then there is the follow-up action and other sort of support and nurturing activity are less. So this is also another situation. Lack of joint planning and data sharing is major and pressing issue among all the development organizations in the country. Then heavy administrative burden. There is a strict documentation, voucher and other documentation are required by the donor, and it is sometimes not possible to provide due to the some crisis in a crisis situation. Then donor withdrawal in fragile stage, duplication effort and overlapping project. This is also another important issue that we have been facing. And promising practice and emergence. There is a two practice I have highlighted. One is the Philippines Joint Safety Initiative. That is one of the promising practice. And second is collective advocacy in Pakistan. That is another promising activity that we have highlighted here. This is all about principle 5. Now I'm going to talk about the challenge regarding the coordination and collaboration. First is no sustained coordination, local actors sidelined, long-term media development lack direction. That is the first challenge. Second is there is a bureaucratic barrier. That means that there is a coordination and collaboration between different organizations, but their process takes lots of time when it comes to coordination between donor or funder or the implementing organization. There is a bureaucratic barrier. And there is a duplicated effort as well that, as I already mentioned, there is a duplication of the activity between or among the different media development organizations in a particular country. Then local insight have been ignored. Policy and donor policy and grassroots reality has a disconnect. There is no connection in somewhere because it is because there is not thorough research. And another, last but not the least, is there is emerging voices left out and fear of silence feedback. That it means that there is a kind of lack of coordination and communications between hunter and implementing organization. And implementing organization has a fear that if they ask a funder any question that is unfavorable to them, it may put them on a future funding crisis, or they may not get funding in future. That is something that they have a fear of. That is reason why that has not been practiced. Now I'm going to talk about recommendation on principle 5. Principle 5, it means how to improve the donor or implementing organization coordination or among the different organizations, the media development organization. First is establish inclusive coordination platform. That is very important thing. If we have one common platform on which all the organizations come together, then that would be a perfect thing. Second is simplify and adapt donor processes. Third is ensure transparent, inclusive partnership. Fourth is fund coordination and strengthen local CSO. Align aid with diplomatic missions are another recommendations on principle 5. Then I'm going to talk about principle 6. Principle 6 talks about that. Principle 6 is about investment in knowledge, research, and learning. This is what principle 6 about. And this principle 6 focuses international funder or media development organization to invest in knowledge, research, and learning. So my finding here on this overall principle are as below. First is media organizations, so strong commitment to learning through training, peer exchange, and adaptive research. This is our finding. Second is countries like Afghanistan, Myanmar, Nepal conduct monitoring and evaluation and publish research despite difficult situation or despite they have not been funded. It is on their own funding. This has been practiced. And third thing is South-South cooperation, such as AMIC in Philippines, foster regional knowledge sharing. Efforts are mostly informal, short-term, and heavily and donor-dependent. Limited core funding and weak institutional support restrict sustained research. Donor pressure for quick result hamper deeper program implementation. It means that when there is a donor pressure for a quick research may not may affect the research, because in research we may take much time, but the donor has a strict deadline, and they need to, and local implementing partner need to implement the donor's deadline. That is why there is a kind of discrepancy. This is about the principle 6. Now I'm going to talk about the challenge on the principle 6. First is chronic underfunding. As I mentioned in principle 2, there is a chronic underfunding in research as well. Second is weak integration of education and policy. Third is limited institutional academic collaboration. It is important to highlight here that there is very less collaboration between academic institution and media development organization. If that has happened, then the research and learning, knowledge sharing will be really strengthened. Then another is a research gap and emerging technology, barrier to global knowledge exchange. There is a lower opportunity for a global South to participate in the global, different global forum because of the funding and other sort of the scarcity. That is the key challenges of principle 6. And I have few recommendations about research and learning. First recommendation is secure, sustainable, and flexible funding. Second is expand capacity building and learning. Third is fund applied and participated research. This is very important thing that international donors should think about. Next is international donors should integrate research into journalism education. This is something that they need to give a high emphasis and high priority. That is what our research recommendation says. Then facilitate South-South peer learning. This is very important thing, and this is something that the most of the respondent highlighted. Yeah, this is a key recommendation from principle 5, sorry, principle 6. Yeah, I'm at the end of my presentation, and I would like to request all of you to go to provide feedback, or if you have any question, then I'm here to respond to you, and it's up to Dennis now.
Thanks so much, Umesh. I think you've probably gathered that there's a wealth of information in this regional report alone that Umesh has drawn up. I think Sanya posted a link to the article on that regional report, but this is only a very sort of short snippet of what the actual report will contain, and we'll be publishing that in about a fortnight. So do look forward to that. We will be sending you the link to everyone who participated today. Now, we wanted to make sure that your voices, sort of the audience's voices, are also heard. That's why, as I suggested, we'd like to go a bit over the hour, like 5 minutes past. We have some questions from the chat. I saw Famim Fadouz was posing a question, and I can see your camera's on, Famim. So would you like to just put it out there?
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Good to see you after some time, and the other colleagues from DW Academy. In essence, what I wanted to discuss is that, or really pose the question, is that donor assessments and the distance between donor and the donor thoughts and ground realities. I think it's essentially the job of local organizations, along with intermediaries like DW Academy or IMS, where I work, to conduct these assessments. So contextual assessments, bring stakeholders together, get a robust and thorough assessment, and base interventions and support based on that, and not really narrow tunnel vision sort of findings or points that we want to address. And if the donor priority is really wrong, I think it's also the job of intermediaries to really advocate and draw attention to what really is a problem, and not just based on whatever the donors say we should, and I think intermediaries like the Global North Media Development Organizations have that position to do that advocacy. And in terms of local leadership, and I know this has been a conversation for a long time, and I'm very glad to see that it's gaining momentum now. I think local leadership doesn't essentially mean that a local organization has to be a lead applicant to a grant funding call, because for many reasons, a media development intermediary, Global North organization is in a better position to be in a lead applicant for many administrative experience and all of those reasons. I think what's important here is to make sure that the local actors, the stakeholders, people who whose environments we want to work in have a say, have a say in how it is done, what is done, and what is the priority. And I think it has been missing in many contexts, that these consultations and these programs are designed elsewhere and implemented somewhere else. And I think we have to, as a collective, find ways to make sure that we sit down with people who are affected and find out what they would think. And that's how I think local leadership and agency can come. It doesn't have to be essentially that whoever has primary control of the grant or whatever. So I think these are things that that media development fraternity community has to do together. And I'm really glad to be part of that discussion. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Famim. I think we'll take that as a comment, but also, yeah, an important statement on local ownership, but at the same time also sort of making sure that Global North organizations advocate and try and do that groundwork in terms of research, etc. Thanks. Okay, so Ines, anything else we have in the chat?
Yes, we have a couple of questions in the chat that are about clarifications or explanations in terms of methodology, I think, so I can sum them up nicely and would pose them to Umesh. This first, and then later on, it is about certain regions and countries that don't seem to be donor priority, and why is that? But first, maybe let's address those questions on methodology. For example, Isan Ahmed Seha asked if also the rural media groups in Pakistan have been considered in the report, as 65% of the Pakistani population is residing in rural areas and small towns. And then a similar question from Tandin Wangmo. I'm hoping that I pronounced the names correctly. Please excuse me if I don't. He said, a great presentation, Umesh. How many countries are represented in the report? So maybe you can also quickly explain that. And then Usha Kiran Regmi said, or is asking, did your current research detect, if media development organizations are funding urban-based English media outlets, I think local media outlets in the Global South remain marginalized in terms of collaborating with international media development organizations. Did your current research detect any such gap in terms of funding to local media outlets in the Global South? So maybe you can share a bit of insights on that, Umesh.
Okay, thank you, Ines. Yeah, first, I'm going to respond to Pamin's query. In fact, yeah, you are right. There is a gap between the implementing organizations and the funder. So our recommendation is to bridge that gap and to ensure that the implementing organizations work on their own agenda rather than being guided from the global organizations or the other organization who just advises or first thing. And second thing is, as you said, yes, there should be a local organization to lead the assessment, to lead the research, but what the local organization are saying is that the agenda and overall framework of the research has been largely guided by the donor organizations or the international funder. That is what the many of the respondents said. But yeah, thank you so much for your kind feedback, and this has been included in the report as a recommendation. Thank you so much for highlighting this major and very important points. Then I'm going to talk about the methodology. Yeah, as I talked with Dennis will further clarify about the methodology, and I'm going to talk about methodology quickly. Actually, we have taken 8 countries as a sample in Asia Pacific region, and we had conducted in-depth interview with the focal point from the media development organization, who has a better expertise, who has a very expert level knowledge on the local media development sector in all the questions that we have been seeking a response of. And this apart, we had a survey, and with the media development organization. So this is kind of qualitative quantitative research finding, and my finding is based mostly on the qualitative research, as the number of respondents from Asia region is a bit low. That is why I'm more focused on the finding of the qualitative research. This is all about methodology. And I also responded another question about the number of country that we have. And yes, as Usakino Regmi ji said, yes, the local media development organizations has a kind of in shadow of the English speaking people, and their voices have not been reached to a policy forum, in particularly international global policy forum. And and there is a trend that one person goes to every forum that is available in international level or in global forum. That's why I think that there is a recommendation that we should ensure that local voices and the people from the diverse stakeholder, for example, local media, community radio, local people, or the social media, even YouTuber should be heard at global and policy making level. This is what our recommendations is all about. So thank you, Usakino Regmiji, for your creative feedback as well. I think I have covered all the queries.
Yes.
If there is any, then I'm here to respond.
Okay, thanks so much. And unfortunately, that's about all we have time for today. I said we go 5 minutes over the hour, and obviously we don't want to take more of your time. But if you do have any further questions that you'd like to clarify, obviously you can contact us. You can contact Umesh directly to ask about that. And then again, you can also look forward to the entire report that might also be answering some of the questions that you have. So thanks so much for being with us today for this webinar on the situation in the Asia Pacific region. And in just about 2 weeks' time, we will be having the next session, which, if I'm rightly informed, correct me if I'm wrong, Ines, will be on Latin America.
Yes, no, on August 14th.
Okay, so excellent. Thanks so much. All the best to everyone. Special thanks again to Umesh, and all the best. Bye-bye.